But my legs heavy, I don't get it. How come I haven't hit it already? Still working, I'm still learning, I'm still searching, finally earning something, finally turning something called a profit. If I hear you talking shit, don't get caught in it. I'll be popping off and hit your ass, dropping all your shit. Yeah, I promise this, I got promises. You ain't stopping this, cross my shit, you'll be knocked unconscious, bitch. That's the consequence, I got this, I will not quit. Man, I'm on it, honest. I'm gonna launch quick, then I'm gone. It's just a matter of time before I'm over the climb and moving under my prime. Just quit my 9 to 5, I'm rocking, and they watching, cause it's shocking. Dropping all these top 10 songs, no stopping. It's time to live my life, it's time to live, not die. Wish I could slow down time and just enjoy the climb.
What is up, people? So, you guys might see on the stream, gonna have a fun one. As most of you guys know, as a flat earther, I was a flat earther. I think I had coined myself the only evolutionary flat earther. I was the only one that basically believed in evolution. Now, this one is a really touchy one because the idea of whether or not evolution is what happens isn't as clear cut as most of us would need to believe it. So I get that it's hard to understand it, or believe it for that matter. Even more, you will find basically that if, for the most part, most religious people, most spiritual people, don't believe in evolution at all. Now, here's what the title's about. In my opinion, it's this. The debate is evolution, as I see it, and evolution because it is reality. The main argument I've always heard for it, for evolution not to be real, was the fact that we have a creator. I don't believe in a creator, so I can't understand how that would work. In my idea of how it would work, it would make more sense to me that nature figured it out, not we're programmed to figure it out. And this is a touchy subject because it when you talk evolution, you almost 100% know you're gonna be talking religion. Now, understand, this goes the same route as Flat Earth and Globe does to me. I am what you would consider an atheist. But for myself, I don't like that tag. Why? Because nowadays, mainstream culture, the way everyone talks about it, if you're an atheist, you put yourself out there to discredit people that are religious or spiritual, and I don't like that. Again, I've been in debates where He didn't, and the big questions come out, proof this and this and that. But the realization is that um, anyone's belief of something is their belief of something. So you have to respect it to a sense you have to respect it to a sense that it's their belief. You can't discredit someone for their belief. You can have a discussion about the belief. You can have a discussion about your own, but at the same time, it doesn't need to get disrespectful, right? Okay, so with that said, got no big rant for the day, not yet at least. Uh, so, at least all in all, everything's good. What's up, good? How you doing, Alan? Uh, Psycho Shark was here a little while ago. Also, I want to let everyone know that I'm going to be doing. Okay, so what I want to do is I definitely want to make sure uh, that I stay on point with the topics that I'm doing from now on these live streams. Obviously, they always go a different direction, or they always end up into a flat Earth discussion, which I have no problem with because it all does matter. But always remember, guys, I'm pretty much always gonna touch on the title, if it is something besides flat Earth. But more importantly, I'm gonna start doing experiments. I'm gonna start doing the things I talk about to you guys. So that way, it's not just me talking to you guys. And the reason for this is I also believe um, one of the big factors is a lot of people, myself included, are the type of people that, for the most part, will explain the things that we understand, but we're not doing these things. So you guys can see that I understand it, and that you guys can see that when I'm trying to describe something, you can visually see what I'm describing. And then in that, it all in all, it'll, improve my idea of what's going on. So again, I definitely enjoy this conversation when it comes to evolution, because personally to me, I don't see the correlation between evolution and a religion or a creator, we'll say. Um, as far as I interpret it, I think I think if anything, you would want to endorse uh, evolution, basically because it works so well. Um, a lot of people will say there's no evidence, and on the scale of what we are today compared to where we were a million years ago, no, I can't. No one can. But the fossils that we found, um, the the data that that they have accumulated, it leads us to these paths that give us reason to believe for evolution. Um, this talk was actually, I was listening to this talk. I think Jose and them were having this talk earlier, and one of the things that I hear a lot of is this idea that at any point in time, evolution is described as species turning into other species, and it doesn't work that way. Again, the discussion that I'm going to have about evolution is going to be very basic, right? Um, if you go and talk to someone like Aaron Raw, that conversation is going to be so detailed and depth into how evolution works when it comes down to the genes and the actual speciation, all these things that are just obviously too complicated for me. But again, I also think the reason why we're in this situation where a flat Earth globe, trust, don't trust, all these things are based on the fact that we've. When I say we, I'm talking about in the globe side of the things. I notice they will explain things overboard. If you're like, they'll talk about gravity, and rather than trying to stay as basic as you can to explain it, because not even because of the person you're explaining it to, just because in a situation where someone doesn't agree with how you see it, getting in depth to it is just prolonging another explanation for why it won't work. The way I see it is that the more detailed you get, the easier it is to nitpick at stuff. I know because I did it. Um, but yeah, it's to me, it doesn't make sense that evolution is shunned by the creator, the believers of the creator, compared to, you know, someone who's not thinking about create what created everything, because evolution has nothing to do with creation. For those of you, I know a lot of you guys already know, but if we were to be talking about the beginning, and science does is trying to figure these things out. It's damn, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's abogenesis, something like that. Starts with an A, but it's just imagine the same thing as, you know, Genesis in the Bible. Well, it's abgenesis. It's science version basically of what began. Now that science, that science is a hypothetical, theoretical. I mean, it's as it literally is as unscientific method used uh, science, I believe, in the fact that they won't find they can't find any credible evidence for it. It's not going to happen. The only thing they're looking at in that science field is what's out in space compared to what we have here. Now, it's very easy to obviously deny this is how it works, but it works. Um, the idea of the Big Bang, I have questions about. I don't exactly understand how it would. I don't see how we could be getting heat signatures, or not. I'm sorry, not heat, gravitational waves signatures from the Big Bang, is which what I interpreted the article I was reading. If anyone else knows differently, let me know. But one of the main things is, uh, if we know there are minerals outside our solar system or outside our low space orbit, then we can deduce that most likely that's where our minerals and our metals and all that stuff came from. It I can't ever in my life that I know of ever be able to uh, explain it, but at the same time, it's a lot more complicated than any discussion we're gonna have. But again, I will always say, um, we'll never know. There's no way for, you know, the religious side, spiritual side, for you know, because I know there's a lot of spiritual versus religion and vice versa. I'm going to go ahead and just continue to say the creator side. Um, it, it's a battle that's never going to be won. Either side will ever know the actual truth of the beginning. Well, you know, hey, if there is a creator and, you know, you pass away, I guess then you would be able to find out. But it's, believe it or not, it's actually a bigger issue in my brain than just a discussion. Here nor there, doesn't really matter. What's up, Johnny? What's up, Cigar? How you doing, man? So, guys, I'm gonna put the link in the chat. Again, like I said, you know, the topic is the topic. I'd like to keep on to it, but you know, if no one here wants to talk about evolution, um, so be it. Trust me, I'll figure out a way to string it back in. But for the most part, again, guys, I don't rule the discussion. So the discussions can go anywhere, anytime, uh, mind you. So don't worry about that. But I definitely do want to touch on this. At least get an idea of how you believe um, nature uh, works itself out. Again, while I wait for someone to jump on the panel, kind of give you guys an update with the vegan warrior situation. Um, we are now back and forth in emails. Again, I have a hard time seeing why he's doing this, but he has come to the point now where he's kind of making it seem like every other email I've told him for some odd reason, and it happened last night. It was brought to me as if I was, but Again, guys, I've never in my life said your five senses don't work. Didn't say you can't use your five senses to find out where we live. I will clarify. We cannot use just our five senses to figure out where we live. There's a difference. And then again, I never said you can't. In fact, you have to. Otherwise, you're a vegetable. My whole point of this whole situation with these five senses is that you can't trust them and that we have fail safes for it. He said, I gave him the scenario that shit hits the fan, we have no technology, and my statement to him was, if this were to happen, which wonderfully works into evolution, if this were to happen and we lose all our technology, I said, I believe that the majority, and I think I may have said 90%, the majority of the population of the world wouldn't make it. They'd die. They'd be either attacked by animals, uh, exposure to nature, weather-wise, eat the wrong thing, not eat enough, you name it, it's going to happen. Um, and the reason I know this to be true, just like he says, is 100% based on the fact that uh, because of technology, because of the technology and the science that led us or innovated our whole lives with wonderful bliss, has created us to be we're soft. Now, you're right. We are top of the food chain. We have the ability to start wars. We can take lands. There's not an animal in the world that could beat the human race as is. But the reality of it is our bodies are no longer built with able to withstand nature on a fundamental level of right now, right? So what I mean by that is, if shit hits the fan today, who will be ready? I used to do, for a while. I was doing a lot of live streams on survival tips and shit like that. Most of you probably know, but I do backpacking trips. I've done PCT, Pacific Coast Trail. I've done a lot of that trail. I've not done the whole thing, but I backpack on average about 300 to 400 miles a year. Um, and with that, you're obviously out in the wilderness for a long periods of time. And so about 15 years ago, I consciously started to learn and learn and practice survival skills, whether it be shelters, hunting without weapons, the whole nine on that regards. And yeah, I ain't gonna lie, a little bit of the prepper in me um, motivates me for it, but at the same time, I'm fully confident that worst case scenario, plane crashes, uh, I get disoriented on a backpacking trip, that I'll be able to survive. Um, and even better, my son will survive. My son's also done small backpacking trips, 1 or 2 days. But he's, like I said, I'll do 400. He right now, I think he's somewhere in the range of about 20 to 30 miles a year. Again, he's only 11 years old, but he can build his own shelter. Um, he knows how to build a trap. He's a little not quite so patient for it, and he doesn't know how to. He hasn't skinned anything yet, so trapping is more of a know it when you need it, rather than he's done it. But I would be fully confident in sleeping in a shelter that he built. Um, More importantly, worst case, he knows what it would be like if there wasn't, his cell phone, TV, or radio, all your friends, basketball courts, that whole nine. All those things that are luxuries to life when you really think about it. But um, I think I want to start. I'm probably gonna start doing that again, where I'm giving these tips and ideas and just fun facts of how to do it. I'll probably wait until I get more of a, hey, why don't you do this? But it is what it is, and I enjoy it. So I think you guys, who more importantly to me, I would rather be talking to the guys that never been camping before. The people that don't have that know they have no fucking clue in the wilderness. Why? Because the information I would give you would help you to that, so extensively that you would be able to maybe have a better chance or more confidence in the fact that you're in a wilderness somewhere. Maybe you stop going to the stores and maybe start hunting. As a hunter, it's cheaper, it's obviously healthier, and more importantly, getting those debates with people that are talking about slaughterhouses on shit. You're not part of that when you hunt. So with that said, guys, I'm gonna get in this chat. What's up, Johnny? I know you said something earlier. Just didn't catch it. Maybe it's not. In the beginning, or so big. What's up, Big Smoke? He says in the beginning there was Shrek. All right. Um, and he created the heavens and the earth. He created cheese and soda. That's good. And and number nines. um, I got that all those things you named off Big Smoke do involve a creator of those. But my biggest question, and I think I'd rather wait to ask the question, but I'm gonna put it out there. Maybe it'll entice someone to come in. 1 second. My bad. Uh, my question would be, and I haven't got this answer, but I also have never pressed this. Yes, Alan. Deer, elk are deer, but yeah, mainly elk. Uh, I have hunted bear. I prefer not to hunt bear because I don't know how to cook it, and I'd rather not hunt a bear and have to call my friend um, every third night to cook my bear. But yeah, deer. Um, and in the sake of that, because I've also had those conversations where people tell me hunting is so bad. Hunting actually keeps these species alive based on the fact that they don't overpopulate. A lot of people don't realize it, but 60% of the deer, not I think it's like 40. Those are the last numbers I saw. 40% of deer in a pot in a what do you call them? In a in a group basically. 40% of them will die every year, uh, just due to either starvation, freezing, you name it. Now, the problem or the main reason hunting helps conservation is the fact that if a herd, pretty sure you call them a herd, um, if they have the same successor male for too many generations, um, what ends up happening is the obvious. Um, and guys, they're not humans, so please, you don't need to look at it retardedly. Um, Once you get to a certain amount of generations where the father of these of the deer will then start having mating with his granddaughters, I guess, and that's when gene lines and all that bloodline stuff mix and bad shit happens. Um, but the reality of it is that we keep the population down. We put money towards national parks, yada yada yada. But more importantly, it gives the opportunity for the strongest to survive. And ready for this? And to evolve. Um, One of the big things that I hear a lot about evolution is the monkey thing. Again, the monkey thing. If you ever heard the monkey thing, I guarantee you couldn't credit me a source without it being a creationist website, because that's about the only place I've ever heard them say monkey and so much validity that they but know it's true, and it's not at all. To even say that we came from apes is wrong. It's kind of it's the, the the life tree is so extensive that it doesn't work like that. It'd be like are your 10th cousin back in the day, uh, and they're born in, we'll say, Africa. Well, you're born, you're 10 generations later, you're born in, say, Alaska, right? Things, there's so much that changes between that you can't say that their family and they their bloodlines and this and that. But the reality of it is that in some small insignificant way, there's genes that match. It's not ever been, never has it ever been, a human-like animal and an ape mating to have a baby. Does not work that way. Never has, never will. Anyone who tries to explain like that, it's it's a straw man. They're trying to bait you to get off point, I guess. I mean, it's very clear on what they tell us, and again, it's very clear that when you weigh how things work and what we observe, evolution again it's the best answer. Um, Whether or not you're willing to take the best answer as truth, it's subjective. But at the same time, a creator doesn't make sense to me, because a creator, you're then saying that we are all created by this creator, but that's not true at all. In fact, that's so not true. Um, to say it's true is disrespectful to your ancestors, your family. Your parents busted their ass to get to where you are now today. You're alive. You have, obviously, you got enough that you're able to go online and listen to me rant like a fucking idiot. But the creator didn't create us. It doesn't work that way. Especially because we know how the egg and the sperm and all that stuff works. That at no point between gestation and birth did anything magical, in a sense of unnatural, done not by man, happens. I've talked about this 1,000 times. There's a study that is going on, and it's just off the coast of Italy, in that area. Um, Over the past 45 years, they've actually been doing a study where they're observing a species of lizard called the wall lizard. So what they did is they found the wall lizard in one area of that world, and they had another same species of wall lizard. Just it's one was like a wall lizard, blah 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 blah, and the other one was part of the same species, but may have they went about something else differently. To be more specific about it, one species favored a lot of fruits, vegetables, based on the fact of it was right off the coast of an island, or right on the coast of an island, and the other one lived in the rocky areas and primarily ate insects and other bugs type of animals, and with that, hunted. Now, over the past 40 years, the things that they've noticed now with that, look at my notes real quick, is, for one, the and these are also ways they figure out, or ways they came to the conclusion that evolution was the best answer we have. One of the main things they do notice, and we know this, and we're able to figure out how we ate, um, where we would have lived millions of years ago on this, the digestive tract. They know, they know if you're in a certain region of the world, what you're most likely going to be eating. If you're living north of Canada area, Russia, northern Russia, um, you're most likely not going to be doing the vegetable thing. You're not going to be eating crops. You're going to be eating a lot of fats, a lot of things. Excuse me, a lot of fats that that are going to keep you warm, keep your body full of calories, and keep you going. If you live in another place, you're probably going to do less work because it's going to be hotter. You're probably gonna consume not so much. Most likely, you're gonna have a lot more lean type animals because you know sweltering deserts aren't a good place for an animal that carries a lot of fat and water. Obviously, because that fat will then dry. um, but yeah, so one of the main things that they found with this lizard is obviously the digestive tract completely changed. Um, it like I said, these two species went from primarily hunting to now in a situation where there maybe isn't so many insects, bugs, you name it. And on the other side, the plant, the berries and the vegetables or the fruits and stuff off the trees, that one probably had a little bit less. He may have had to start hunting more. But what they found is that the digestive tract changed, meaning no longer was one species only and mainly eating, the fruits, vegetables, and only another one was hunting and getting insects. Their digestive tract had now distinguished or now shows it can break down both. That's just one. Now, you can say that's, go to McDonald's, you hate McDonald's, and then, they find a good burger and you like it. But that's not how it works. Our digest, God damn, our stomachs and our intestines, um, it would take thousands, if not thousands and thousands of years to have our stomach actually do that. It does. It would basically take, just the dynamic of how we eat, our climate, our living situations. Everything would have to be taken into account to effectively make it happen. And then again, we would never ever see the effects of that because obviously it takes a while. Um, get back in this chat real quick. Now keep going. Inbred, yeah. More on bears. Yes, they are. It's common ancestors. Yes, exactly. Not eight, but exactly. No, well, and when you're explaining it, that is the best explanation for someone to understand where we went from animal to the human species. I think it's used mainly to break that up. You said the wall lizards, they adapted the situation, so they evolved. Exactly. The best simple way I can explain it, and it's very hard to argue it. I've actually had people say, yeah, it is evolution based on just this alone. Evolution is the biological simplification of 1,000 adaptations. Now, make it so you understand, if we were breaking down what it takes to be classified as an evolved species, you would have to, fall under a bunch of criterias. Well, instead of one adaptation, another adaptation, which leads to another adaptation, which you go back and makes that adaptation does, builds on that, and this happens, this happens. It's just evolution is a simple way of explaining, adaptation over all those years. It's just the way it works. It's not gonna be where you believe it's a creator, and if there is a creator, that means there's only one type of species because you don't believe in speciation. Then you would, why do we have animals that have the same genomes as other animals that aren't part of their bloodline. Um, to get a little bit more clear on that, it's what animal is it? Damn, it was something to my tongue. So basically, you look at a Great Dane, right? And you look at a Chihuahua. Well, you know what? They're both canines. Their their bodies basically work the same. Regardless of whether or not, Chihuahuas are little rats. But the reality of it is that you can't mate with a different species, but that doesn't mean you can mate with all of your species, right? So when you're thinking about it this way, in the way I'm saying it, if there was a creator, I personally would believe that it would work like very very structured. There everybody wouldn't have different DNA. Everybody wouldn't have the same developed brains. I mean, these things are like, it's pretty cut and dry to me that at least evolution does explain what we see. Now, excuse me, guys. Oh, damn. Again, it's weird to me to real when I think about it, and someone will say evolution isn't real. Then they'll go down their list of misnomers. I don't come from a monkey. Um, Show me where a species turns into another species, and no one says it does. My favorite one is, Darwin was a liar. Darwin uh, made up evolution. So basically, everyone has blamed Darwin. But the funny part is about that whole situation is that Darwin was not the guy who he didn't invent evolution. Evolution wasn't invented. Evolution is a study to know how species evolve, how species live on this planet, and it's odd to me when we have these discussions because, again, having a conversation with someone who believes in a creator is a little different than even the shape of Earth. It's oh man. In case of the yawns, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this off so you guys don't have to stare at me yawning. I don't know what the fuck that's all about. Let's see here. And okay, so again, it does confuse me where logic is supposed to be used, but because in your brain you think it excludes a creator, um, doesn't still doesn't make sense. What's up, Chris? What's up, Florence? What's up, Gary? How you doing? Um, what's wrong, Chris? What did I say that is wrong? Exactly, Alan. Um, Darwin is just one guy, studied finches, and came to a conclusion that he had a certain portion of it figured out. Um, but again, his grandfather and that guy and his grandfather's grandfather or father, they actually were the ones who were deep into evolution. In fact, I think in the 1600s they were talking about this and they were writing books about it. Darwin's just the poster boy for being picked on now. But again, it does make sense how that works. I'm sorry. I personally believe, I'm like, why do people that believe not run with evolution? Because evolution, it literally is the perfect time. Said, do you believe in a creator? I don't know. Oh, okay. No, I don't believe in a creator. It's to me, it doesn't add up. It doesn't correlate with my beliefs. What's up, Gary? How you doing, sir?
What's going on, sir?
Uh, 1 second. Gotta change my speaker real quick.
Am I
All
too
right.
loud?
No, no. Well, no. My I had my I had my Hangout speakers to broadcasting to my regular speakers, not my headset. So when you talk, you would end up hearing a bunch of feedback on your side, from
Okay,
me.
I got you.
Um, shit, we've had many of talks. Not actually, we haven't had talks with each other about evolution, but we've definitely been on the same side of the evolution conversation over the years.
Right. The conversation you said Darwin didn't come up with evolution. He only
No,
came up with the mechanism. He only came up with the mechanism.
yeah, yeah, he was an observer. He didn't just come up with it. And he never even tried to have that kind of credit. Um, in the chat, Chris said that evolution doesn't work. The statistics, um, it works. The numbers work. The observations and the studies of, and more importantly, you guys got to understand there are studies being done that don't take the 40, 45 years those wall lizards took to get to where they are. Um, I'm pretty sure you heard about this, Gary. They actually started using E. coli.
E. coli.
Yes, um, because I guess it regenerates and the way basically the way it was explained to me was that E. coli basically has a way of having memory. It has a way of um, remembering cell pattern of its host, I guess, and being able to adjust for it to make obviously to be as bad as it possibly can. And it's evolution. If E. coli is tested and they get all the numbers there, and then 5 years down the line they test that same batch of it, and it's then changed. It's damn. I'm all tongue tied today. It's genetic code, I guess you would say, right? Is that the right term for that?
Well, usually they would use stuff like fruit flies. That's because you're able to get multiple subsequent generations.
Well, I think I remember it saying that the reason they were using the E. coli was because it's so fast. Its process is so fast. Whether the reproduce producing more E. coli. I guess I don't even know how the fuck that works, but the way it was put out and I interpreted it was basically they because they can grow faster and their life cycles are faster. I guess in a sense. I guess when you're talking about bacteria, but it's not meant to be a fact. Like it's not going evolution is real. Period. We're done. It's they're all observations, trying to figure out better how evolution works. But again,
Right.
the I'm not sure if you guys there are animals that you can clearly see at some point in our ancient history had to have been in the same bloodline, or however you would put it, because like zebras, horses, uh, and any other of those animals, they do come from a very like we came from apes are like a distant fucking whatever. Yeah, well, they're like real close. Like they grew up together in the same neighborhoods. It's only a generation two apart, theoretically speaking. Um, but just those small things show us evolution is real. And
Right.
I mean, it's frustrating because this conversation is to me is as cut and dry as it gets. It's even easier to figure out than the shape, in my opinion. Yeah, but it's again, I get it. I get that it's up for debate. I can't say it's not. That'd be selfish and stupid of me. But at the same time, again, this is one of those things where you're not willing to take the evidence and realize that it doesn't. I think that's the thing. It doesn't disprove your creators, guys. at all. Again, I believe, and Gary, I'm pretty sure you can agree. If there was a creator, he's gonna pick evolution for how shit works. It's a fucking genius way.
Well,
Go ahead.
whether there's a creator or not, the only thing that actually matters is that we know that's what we observe. So no matter if it's a creator, if it's directed panspermia, if it's abiogenesis, no matter how life started on the planet, evolution is part of that process.
Absolutely. And if not, okay, I mean, you guys probably hate to say it, but then what is it? It can't be it can't be your creator's creation. I know for a fact I wasn't. I know my son wasn't, and I observed that. My parents created me. My son's mother and I created him. So if that is true, which we know it's true, I mean, you can't deny that, right, Chris? You can't deny that. Your parents created you. Then we're only really talking about something that happened thousands of years ago. And your existence does not prove a god or a creator. I'm sorry, guys. A creator exists. It doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. I mean, I get it. And I'm going to say most people on Earth don't care about all the evolution this and evolution that, but there are a lot that do, and I just don't see why. At what point, a creator type minded person would just throw evolution out. I get it. It does shit on a lot of ideas. Vegan Warrior's whole idea of how that shit works is based on that.
Based on what?
Based on thinking that evolution is impossible, that our bodies, our senses, everything is so perfect that we can just use it and it'd be fine.
Our bodies aren't perfect, though.
Not at all. Not at all. And that's what I've been trying to. What I've been doing, Gary. I've been trying to get Vegan Warrior to have a debate with me on his theory that all you need is the five senses to know we live on a sphere, which is obviously
right. But we know our senses are flawed, though.
Oh yeah, we do.
That's the whole concept behind illusions, optical illusions.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we use This is why we use instrumentation, because any optical illusion will tell you that. You can see optical illusion where you see straight lines even though all the lines are crooked. Your eyes just aren't able to distinguish.
Mm-hmm. And that means your senses can not be trusted to determine not just the shape of the earth, but 1,000 other things. And in that,
go
ahead.
Yeah, as humans, we're blind. There's a lot of stuff we don't see that animals see.
Yeah, I read a study yesterday, and it was saying through a 24-hour day, if we added all the collective minutes, seconds, whatever, that our brain was not shut off, but seeing black, basically, it would add up to 45 minutes a day. And that's your eyes wandering, finding something, determining what it is, bringing it back to you. Well, at some point in that path, your brain kind of goes, shuts off and goes reset. You don't notice it because obviously it's way too fast, but at the same time, it's so it's irresponsible to your body. That scares me when someone believes that their senses are so perfect they can determine something that is, I think it was 10,000ths of the negative 3% or some shit like that compared to the whole Earth that you see at any given time. That you'd be foolish to assume you can decide where we live. And that goes with everything. Your touch, your hearing, your seeing, the whole night, everything all adds up. And again, science that everyone hates, the scientific method are all were all brought about because just our five senses, just our observations aren't enough. Just not enough. Ridiculous. So yeah, like I was saying, uh, I really would like to have this debate with the Warrior. Hope it's gonna happen right now. Like I said, guys, where it was me shooting him an email 2 days later, I didn't get nothing back, and he sent one. We're actually, we're going pretty back and forth now in the email. So hopefully he'll come around. But like I said to him in one of the emails, coming from respect, it's just the fact that I don't believe what you do, and it doesn't make it makes such little sense that I feel the need to clearly err on what you know, vegan. Um, Again, guys, to state all you need is your five senses is just don't do that. Don't go into the woods going, my five senses will keep me alive. Again, guys, if we ended up on the outside of technology world, we're dead. We're not.
I wouldn't know about that because we came from that world.
No, but
We
so
we were able to traverse it to get to where you are.
okay. So how many people do you know that you 100% believe would be fine if, say, all technology went away?
How many people I know, if all technology, I could think of at least a handful, or probably a dozen people right now, just off the top of my head.
Yep. And that dozen compared to the population is nothing, right?
No, I mean I could think of more people if I was given time. I know a lot of people who are who hunt, who understand how to make a fire. Can easily go into the woods and survive. That wouldn't be a problem. They love camping.
Yeah, I didn't mean, and if I did come I didn't mean like no one would survive. I generally meant people who have experiences out there, because there's a population of people that are our age that have never been camping.
Yeah, I believe that if you live in the city, of course.
Yeah. Legendary Duke. He had, at the time, he had never been camping before. That's kind of when back in the day, I started doing all the little, the survival tips and shit, and I boggled my mind because I grew up camping. I do backpacking, so when someone goes, "Yeah, I've never been camping," it's like, wow, never slept outdoors. That's crazy. And then worse than that, in that scenario that I've put forth, that those people are, some of them are going to die based on starvation and not knowing how to survive. But back to the reason I had brought this up. It was put forth to me again, and this actually yesterday happened and today happened, where the left in the forest thing happened. And right away, he wanted to explain that there's no technology, you don't believe you'll survive. And I went, well, that's a difference between, that's sort of the difference I'm trying to explain to you. One thing is not it's not the same as the other. You saying will we survive in the woods without no technology is not, we survive right now with technology. The reason I was saying that, Gary, was we've lost that that primal instinct. It we don't walk around, we don't think like we are in constant hunting mode, which they most likely had to do at a certain point.
Yeah, but our species, that's where we came from, so obviously we would be able to do it again. We survived once, and we're the fruit of that species, so we would automatically already have those in us, right?
I see what you're saying, but so what was it? I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago, and anybody with kids will know exactly what I'm talking about when I say it. Yeah, no worries, Joshua. I'll give you that link. What was I saying? Okay, so when damn, completely forgot what I was gonna say. Touch on that part. Oh, okay. So when it comes to surviving, if say we'll use you, Gary. You've been camping, right?
Yes.
Now would you consider would you feel like you'd be comfortable if, say shit hit the fan?
Do what?
Like, do you have you hunted before?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't understand what you mean. Like, see, this is the thing. People think when shit hits the fan, it means we won't have technology. Like,
Well,
why
I
would
I,
you?
I want to put it as we won't have technology
Why?
because it's the difference between ancient times when we were really surviving to now when your version of surviving is how long is Starbucks line. You know what I mean? We're not always watching our backs anymore. We don't, here in America, we're not worried about the next village next door attacking and taking our children and our cows and shit. Um, our brains aren't set up for not everyone's brain is set up for fight or flight. When fight or flight is life or death.
Okay.
So what I was saying with him is, yes, in that situation, our five senses, 100% is what we were using. It doesn't change the fact that they probably will play tricks on you. It does, no matter what. I mean, it's always had to. But even bigger than that, it's the fact that because of that whole time of no technology compared to now, I genuinely don't think I think our bodies have evolved to not have to survive outside. And that would be my best explanation for evolution all in all. Our five senses aren't that great. The reason we evolved, got smarter, figured out technology, started making iPhones and TVs and game consoles and Discords and YouTubes. It's our brains are new to all this. I know Gary, for you, I know for me, some maybe you guys in the chat. Anybody I'd say in 35 and older, you're the starting process of evolution when it comes to our brains. I guarantee you, for 100 years before 1995, none of us no one's brain, no one's information intake was like it is today. I would say, honestly, in the next two generations, they're probably going to see a difference in the skull, how the size of the brain, the way the head's shaped, all things that they've equated to evolution. But that kind of sounds far fetched, just the timeline. I know the timeline is far fetched, but regardless, I think that's how fast evolution starts. But the in between is the problem. Trying to find a picture that I had. Hey, Chris, more than welcome to come on, man. I think I heard you say you were on your phone though, so you may not want to be that. Oh, cause he's. Oh, okay, Sasha, you're on your phone. That's why you can't do the hangout.
Yeah, usually what I do is if you click the link in the Hangout in the chat, I'm at home, so I just go on my computer, and then after I'm in the Hangout, I just do it from my phone.
Oh, okay, I see. All right, so yeah, I just put that link in our back chat. There you go. Kind of doing like a half-assed project on the side right here. I'm gonna put this stuff away. Okay, so now the biggest thing the ultimate reason I even wanted to bring up evolution, and again it does kind of play along with the flat Earth, globe Earth discussion, is the fact that, again, I don't understand what evidence you need for evolution to be real. Now, the best part about evolution is there are real big stopping points where you can go, no, stop that. The monkey thing, species to become a different species. Those are ones that like you can stop dead in the tracks and go, no one says that. I need some evidence that it's not what's going on. I mean, I'm a mixed child. 2 generations ago, my great grandparents, one of them was from Trinidad. He was very dark. Why? I mean, everything changes. We see these things. We know happening to our bodies, to to animals, you name it. I don't get why denying it is something. What's up, Sasha? How you doing?
Hey, Sean.
I know you got something to say about this.
No. Did I?
I don't know.
I just kind of jumped in.
I'm just kind of running out of rant. I didn't really plan a rant for evolution this time.
Oh, well, evolution.
Again,
I haven't seen any alternate explanation besides a creator, so.
But I couldn't even imagine how that could be explained,
right?
Or
yeah.
There's nothing you can do to find out except for
and if humans had always been around, then we would have recorded history of that, but we don't. So and we'd be a lot farther along in technology. So I mean,
see, here's the thing, and that's one of the things I had a problem with the whole flat Earth thing. Was like, at what point will science be able to do the things you believe they won't? And you don't get an answer, but at the same time, it's like, well,
it almost seems like flat Earth started when science was when like the technology was there for the government to fake it. Before the technology existed, flat Earth didn't exist. But once we got like 5 years ago, when CGI became good enough, that's when the flat earthers started to emerge.
Well, see, and again, that brings it right full circle around to, how do you use science that you don't trust?
Right. You don't.
And then that's perfect timing to go, hey, well, why don't you explain to me how your 5 senses then take the place of? And they never do. As in, I don't explain it. Damn. Just brain farting all day today. Damn, what was I saying? Yeah, it's all in all, because I completely just forgot my whole thought for some damn reason. All in all, evolution works so damn well. It does really confuse me that evolution is shunned by creating or people who believe in a creator.
And why can't we have evolution on the flat Earth? Oh, never mind. That's because never mind. It has to be a god. Yep.
Well, it's better to say creator, because that's also something that is real, where there are 2 sides of flat earthers on that spectrum. Some are, religious, and some are spiritual. So Alan says in the chat, he says, they want you to see that in their own eyes, the process. We can see it from fossils, but they won't. Oh yeah, and that's the other thing. And I got into this with somebody, and again, they couldn't explain themselves. Here you go. So if the way we carbon, we find out how old fossils are, or we identify bodies for that matter, we're able to, inside a 1,000-year window. You are loud, Sasha.
Am I?
Yeah, yes.
Here, let me.
All right, perfect. So it's like, if you don't think the fossil evidence is real, you don't. And I've heard these things. You don't believe in DNA. You don't believe that they can date back thousands of years. The problem is that, and I hate this analogy, but it's as real as it gets. If a family member is missing, unfortunately, it was something happened to him, you would trust those investigators and that doctor to identify that person for you. It's the same thing. It's just there's a different deterioration or decay rate numbers that they're looking at. But yeah, it's this whole, and that's the thing that, and I always think, should I go live and talk about evolution, because it's the the facts for evolution are so fuzzy, I would say. um I don't even know how to explain how you would prove evolution, because it's not
Well, I think with evolution, it's just that it's been so widely accepted that nobody's tried to come up with a simple explanation for it.
no. Well, okay, simplifying it, okay, but I think my simplification is perfect. Adaptation or evolution is hundred thousands of adaptations. You simplify those adaptations by calling it evolution.
Well, yeah, it's pretty much just survival of the fittest.
Hmm?
Whoever has the best adaptations moves on.
Yeah, but the realization for the people that don't believe
And if you mutate, if like you have an anomaly, and
that's the other one.
then you're the one who moves on because that anomaly actually ends up helping.
Well, the thing is, and that's the other thing. People they hear mutate, and right off the bat, they say, like, instead of the strongest survives, well, you mutate, you're supposed to die. And the realization is that term mutate isn't like an autistic thing. It's not like a one arm thing. It's it's literally just a whole spectrum of observations that you're not. I don't even know why you're not willing to accept it.
A mutation could be an extra finger or an extra feather on your wings or something. It's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be something crazy.
Well, even more important, it doesn't mean it's something negative.
Yeah, and also that's why evolution takes so long. That's why evolution takes so long.
Yeah, because it's waiting for that one time just does something different. The gene just does a different twist, and even then, that doesn't mean the species changes. That's just.
And you can also see that in humans right now, as in life expectancy.
What do you mean?
Humans' life expectancy has increased. That's partly due to better medical care, but it's also partly due to evolution.
Yeah, well, see, is it good or bad though? Because I can see right now that the government doesn't really put forth a healthy alternative. Whole Foods and all the places are expensive. So just like, are they eating healthier? Like, are they exercising more? Like,
well, like
whatever.
on average, human life expectancy has gone up.
But see, I don't know if I could constitute that as evident or as evolution, because it's.
Yep. Yeah, that does. Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I'm just trying to find examples.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do too, because
Mhm.
it's real easy in my brain to go, it's evolution. This is why. But when you try to figure out a way to explaining it, because it's even, for science, it's not something that's just explained. I wish it was, but it's not. But at the same time, oh, that's what it. If you don't believe that this planet has been here for 45 billion years, um, the problem with your logic on how things work like that is the fact that your argument is, we've never seen a speciation happen. Yeah, that's how we know evolution is working, because it doesn't happen right away. It doesn't happen randomly out of nowhere, and it literally happens to everything. Trees, insects, people that don't believe in it. Trust me, everything is evolving. Um, I gave the analogy once. If you went to Alaska out a jacket and you were cold, what would you do? Get a bomber jacket, big jacket. Ding ding. That's adaptation number one. Cold, fix it. hungry. Okay, well, I need to go over there and learn how to catch something with a trap. It's like these steps that show us evolution are like, it's like kryptonite to some people. Like just understanding and knowing how something, or having a better understanding of how something works, is like kryptonite to people. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, and I've read about.
What kind of evidence for evolution were you looking for?
Not so much evidence for, more of convincing arguments for.
Yeah, wouldn't evidence be a convincing argument for?
But what in evolution do we have that works that simply? That's not even a fucking word. but
I usually point out speciation. I feel that's a good indicator.
But see, that to me, that's so close to species to species that they'll try to use that it's kind of cloudies the explanation of what speciation actually is.
How?
Because
I would say, just back to your cold climate argument, why do creatures in colder climates have more fur and creatures in warmer warmer climates have less fur?
Of the same species.
Of the same species.
Yeah. That's it. That's actually a really good one. The only like I said, the whole like spiritual and religious talk it doesn't even need to be in the conversation because they have nothing to do with each other. And in that same token, animals evolve as well, obviously. So this whole a creator made it, then it does not explain the different, the same species are in different locations. It makes zero sense. How you doing, Brenda?
I am doing fine. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Kind of just BSing.
I'm unsure sometimes if I can be heard because I'm on a secondary, very old computer, and I'm not always sure that the mic is connected up correctly.
Yeah, I think you've had that problem over at Discord a couple of times. I heard.
I'm waiting for parts to arrive from Newegg.
Yeah, that's always a fun part, waiting for parts. You have actually pretty decent idea of evolution, right? I think we've been in the same hangouts during the conversation.
I wouldn't call myself an expert or anything.
Not an expert, but I've definitely heard you have weigh in on it though.
Well, I can weigh in on a lot of things, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, the peppered moth thing is a good example of natural selection and how evolution works.
And that was the study they did with the whole industrial complex and that being a driving force to that evolutionary turn, right?
Well, that's an explanation of how natural selection works, right? So back in the day, they burned a lot of coal in England, right? And so that covered the barks of trees with dark soot, and light-colored moths got picked up by birds pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
And then as a result of legislation, they cleaned up the smokestacks. And so then the trees went back to their natural color, which was a light gray, I guess. And so then the recently the dark moths now all of a sudden were easy to see for the birds, and the birds picked on them instead.
What was it? I think it was. I don't think it was recently that they actually figured that out, wasn't it?
There was some questions about it. I remember looking into it. I don't remember the details. There's some people that questioned the research, and then they went through and did it really rigorously and showed that it still applied, but the original research was not up to modern standards of rigorousness.
It's also important to point out that this was the same species of moth.
Yes.
Well, true, but that's explaining the idea.
Just for everybody out there.
Oh yeah, that's definitely true. An example of speciation would be Darwin's finches. on the Galapagos Islands. They've since he visited them a long time ago, there have been some of the finches that have evolved because there's been changes to their environment. See,
I usually use the salamanders down the Sahara Nevada.
okay.
I haven't heard those. I haven't heard about that.
Well, there's salamanders that run up and down the Sahara Nevada, and the ones from the northern coast can no longer interbreed with the ones on the southern coast, even though they're pretty much the same salamander. They're different species now. They can no longer interbreed because they're separated through distance.
Do they say
People
Go ahead, Ben, I'm sorry.
people get hung up on the idea of what a species is, and it's not a hard and fast rule. Generally, it says that if the animals can't interbreed, then it's a species. But that isn't a hard and fast rule. It is possible for something to be two different species, but they could interbreed.
Like a
horse and donkeys
Yes.
will interbreed and get mules.
within there.
And tigers, what is it? Tigers and
lions.
Lions.
yeah, they make a liger. They make a liger. Yeah.
I think they've been able to go do this the other way around, but I think it's like dangerous for the lion or something.
I don't know what that's called. It's called something other than liger or something. Well, basically, animals will fuck anything that holds still for them.
Well, when you got big ass teeth, it's a lot easier to do that too. Let me see here. I'm trying to find that this study that I was talking about with the wall lizards.
The geckos?
I don't think they're geckos. No, they're not geckos. They're called wall lizards. Trying to figure out exactly the guy's name who did the study. But I was interested in it because he was doing multiple studies. He did it with the species of wall lizards, E. coli, and some other thing with, but I don't remember.
Oh, there is something with E. coli that sort of demonstrates evolution. There's a species, well, I don't know if it's E. coli, but there's a bacteria that evolved the ability to basically to eat nylon. And, obviously nylon has never existed until the 20th century when chemists started making,
Yeah.
they came up with it never existed in nature before. And there's an interesting thing, for instance, too, like this isn't evolution, but it's just kind of interesting. There's bacteria. You have thousands and thousands of cars that travel on roads every day, and little bits of the rubber and everything get deposited on the road. And there's bacteria that eat that. If they didn't eat that stuff, it would really build up on the roads, apparently.
Well, I was in shock when I found out that how much the bacteria count we have in our own fucking bodies. I was like, oh crap. We're walking.
Well, you couldn't live without bacteria.
Yeah, but when you're doing a study and you're researching and you're looking at parasites in South America, and then you find out how much bacteria is in your stomach. You're going, which ones are good? Which ones are bad?
That's actually a good point that you bring up. You brought up is it parasites or diseases? Or one of the best is the flu virus. It adapts each year as to the antibiotics. Mm-hmm. That's why antibiotics work really well when they're first released. But as time goes by, the virus or the disease, it adapts to that antibiotic and starts performing less well and not working on as many people and not having as high of a success rate.
I was just noticing chat, Chris. Do you have a site we can go to that would explain how that's been debunked? Because I would find it. I mean, harder than anything to do than to disprove evolution, especially because it's just an explanation of how things happen, not something we've made up or or we could change like that.
Well, I think there's a Wikipedia page about it, and I think that they mentioned the challenges to there was older research, and then they redid it. They redid the research or relooked at it, and brought it up to modern standards because apparently, it was a long time ago. So the guy wasn't the biologist who did the original version wasn't careful the way we expect people to be today.
I see.
And at least this is, I remember looking it up, a few years ago. So my memory could be off.
Okay, so I found the study. The last update I'm seeing is from 2013, but I didn't really look too far into it. But it basically says evolutionary changes. When scientists returned to the island 36 years later, they noticed stark differences between the lizards on Podcopus and the lizards on Archaea. I don't know, two different islands or different specimens that they had separated. They had adapted to their environment and had developed new characteristics not seen in the lizard before. So basically, the indigenous population of lizards had been completely wiped out, and the lizards subsequently, oh damn, I fucking tongue tied this shit today, lost many of their territorial defenses. The original wall lizard ate mainly insects and were not adapted to a vegetarian diet. Their digestive tracts and the way they break down completely changed into basically eating plants. And what else did it say? Oh, because it said it also developed a larger and wider head than its original counterparts, as it had to bite harder and more powerful to chew on the plants. Plentiful food allowed the lizards to reproduce quicker than lizards on the other island and formed a denser population. I mean, they basically changed almost every dynamic thing, with their genes and everything. It changed them around. Everything they do is different. Their structures are different. I'll put this link in the chat real quick because I read like shit.
You know what's annoying?
I enjoy it a lot
I
better.
feel like somebody like Quantum Eraser would take a look at that and say there's more than one independent variable. That's not a scientific method.
Well, the problem with him is that he literally makes up his own science. I mean, it's not even a question. You can't question what he says because his science literally is the only science. I had a conversation with him, and for 20 minutes we were talking about the second law of thermodynamics, and his explanation for how we live in a closed system is based on we just live in a closed system. Don't talk to me about it. I was like, okay, that's not how it works, but whatever. Let me see here. Yeah, if you guys get a chance, you guys should read that wall lizard study. It's actually pretty damn cool. But that's also the same guy that did the bacteria test. I'm trying to find that one now.
It's funny how you can predict what a flat earther will say in response to something before they even say it.
Well, that's
just
because
they're
flat earther too. So.
well, most people can. I mean, just because their responses are so uniform, they follow the same pattern.
Oh yeah. I just wish that pattern, had some realization that things change. You don't have to stick to that narrative. So that's what last night I was accused of being indoctrinated and running on a narrative. I had to point out to the guy, like, he had just said, I've been a flat earther for 5 years. And I went, how many experiments did you do? And he said, I've only done a few. And I went, then you do a lot of listening and copy and paste talk. You just shut up and cussed me out and then left. They definitely don't like to hear that part. That's all it is. You realize that there are no actual sources, date anything from. It becomes a lost cause, realistically. All right. Well, guys, obviously, this is a dead topic. None of us know enough about evolution to speak on it, and apparently, the only person that disagrees with evolution here is Chris, and I think his phone's on crap mode, and he doesn't want to come in to hang out. So, I think we're gonna end it. I know Seek and Find wants to come on the panel later on, so it looks like I'm gonna go on later, and we're gonna talk flat Earth. You guys gonna be around, say, an hour? I'll assume that's a yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna keep this hangout open, and I'll just keep using this hangout for the next one.
Okay.
It'll give me a chance. I'm hungry anyway. I honestly didn't know how this topic would go. It's hard to get a good evolutionary topic going with people that some people just aren't interested in it at all. But I like it. All right, yeah. I'm gonna end this right now, but I'm gonna use this hangout for the next one. Guys in the chat, I apologize. It happens. Evolution isn't that fun of a conversation. I know, I get it, but gotta change it up sometimes. I need at least 15 minutes not to be talking about flat Earth for a second. But yeah, I'm gonna be on in an hour. I know I'm gonna message Seek and Find, make sure he'll be on if Chris wants to jump on. But I mean, again, it ain't like I ain't got nothing to say about a flat Earth. There's I got some questions now, and I don't think Seek and Find is gonna be able to answer it. That's the fun part. So I'll talk to you guys in a little bit, but clear this out. Again, guys, hey, shit happens. Sometimes live streams just aren't the fucking funnest and the most kept going, with dialogue. But I got a couple of videos I wanted to show you guys that I did some editing on, and then wanted you guys to check out, what observations are being made by flat Earth that aren't even reality of it. But at the same time, I also have a video that I can show. Maybe they're not even doing it on purpose yet, because it does, verify their belief. It's easier for them to bypass, to overlook the problems with it. And I'm gonna show you guys that when I come back on. And like I said, guys, it'll be hour and a half, and then we'll do it that way. Oh yeah. I mean, I definitely enjoy the conversation, but when you got a panel full of people who all believe in evolution, the dialogue doesn't keep flowing. It's kind of everyone agrees already, so it's not really pressing to talk about. But what I will do is I'm going to pull up a couple of the studies that I read over time about evolution, things being studied under the guise of evolution, and so you guys can see those things, and we'll talk about it. But at the same time, I get it. Sometimes you guys just wipe your hands with it and go, yeah, we'll end the stream, and I'm gonna go smoke some weed and eat some food. I'll see you guys in an hour, and pick up where we left off on